welcome to CandlerCreativeChats. My name is Dan Candler, and today we have a very special, spontaneous episode. We've got an episode with Ed Addo, a musical and creative genius entrepreneur, and I'm really excited to dive into Ed's life today and see his journey and see how he's got to this point. So yeah, let's kick it. Thank you so much for coming, Ed.
It's a pleasure, man.
So sick.
It's sick, and welcome.
Welcome
to the abode.
You got such nice digs, man. You got such nice digs. It's really cool.
I have to hand it to Georgina, to be fair, because she has done a lot of the decoration. But together, we're starting to create.
It's nice,
something.
Man. It's a really nice vibe. It's a nice energy to the place.
To be fair, yeah, it is.
Because what we were doing today, guys, we came over. Me and Creative Flame, Lucas Lorenzo came to shoot Ed's music video.
Yes,
for
sure. Respect, which is coming soon.
Yeah, which we're really excited about. So tell us, you know what? Let's actually start. Let's start from the beginning. Let's go straight into it, so we can get to that vibe of why we're shooting a music video, so people can understand. So tell me a little bit about yourself then. Let's you know what? I've only done this a couple of times, but I want you to tell me your journey from start to finish. Feel free to dive into anywhere you feel just comes to your brain. But tell me within 30 seconds.
Okay.
I want to know in 30 seconds how you've got to this point.
Okay.
And I've only done this one, and the last time we actually went into like 3 minutes. So
okay.
I'm
You're gonna time me.
I'm gonna time it. Let's see if you can actually do this bad boy.
All right.
Well, first I actually need to find my stopwatch.
Right. I mean, already I've got so much like in my brain.
Hey, I'm still gonna get out my watch though, so I can.
I don't cheat.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Okay, so born in Cambridge, picked up a trumpet when I was 7 years old. My eldest brother gave me Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, and that was my 7th birthday present, and that sent me off on this journey of discovery of jazz, music, sonic worlds of exploration, and that kind of like sort of gave birth to me into the creative world. That's when I discovered drama. I went into acting, fashion became part of that, and so that's kind of been my journey. And then lived in the Netherlands for a little bit of time. That was a whole period of my life which was super interesting. Played first festivals I played, got into singing, got into more trumpet playing, got into more band stuff, and then came back to the UK, went to Newcastle, was a resident MC for like grime nights, garage nights, hip hop nights, all kinds. And it was pretty much cemented that I was going to do music from that point. And then it's just kind of gone on from there, and expanded into production for film, for brands, obviously for public consumption and just for the culture.
Love that. That was a little bit over 30 seconds, but I'll forgive you.
Yeah, right.
No, that's so your whole life has really been so delved into this idea of music and so your family then, was your mum and dad into music? Yeah, they were into music a lot. Like, so in my house, I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. Eldest brother, he's now 45, 46. And growing up, I had access to all of his like old tapes, all of his old CDs, and he was into like jungle back in the day. He was also into a lot of old school house music, so Frankie Knuckles. Sister was into like old school hip hop, Grandmaster Flash, De La Soul, Jurassic 5. And then my parents obviously had an eclectic mix of soul. My mum loved classical, she loved jazz. My dad was super into bands like Cream, and like classic rock from him, like growing up in the UK. That's kind of like something that he got into. So my musical world was so eclectic. So it now has got to a point where I'm really starting to see that come out through my music. So the sounds that I'm discovering within myself are kind of like, so they're centered in hip hop, but there's like sensibilities of jazz, there's sensibilities of rock. So it's kind of like my musical background is very much a product of the family world that I was in, because there was such a mix. Such a mix. When was the first time you picked up a trumpet?
The first time I picked up a trumpet.
Because the trumpet, like, everyone needs to go check out Ed Addo's fucking shizzle because it's but within Ed's sets, you use the trumpet a lot, right? It's like it's almost feels a part of your I mean, because I came to watch I watched your set at the Field Fest, which we shot for them, and it felt like like the trumpet was a part of your identity. With your tracks and stuff.
I feel like the trumpet really has become part of who I am as an artist and a creative, in the sense that it's more than just a sonic attribute to the music, but also it's how it feels. Like my character to the world often is very bold, very confident, very out there. And I can express that and extend that even further with the trumpet. But there's also beautiful sensibilities that make the trumpet really special. So, when you bring it into like a softer song, like it's the energy for me, the way that's done live and all these different things. So for me, the trumpet allows me to really get to the nitty-gritty of my creative expression. Like the growls you can play with it, the way you can do all the flares and the frills, and like sometimes the roughness of it is kind of how I approach my creative endeavors. Like there's a clinical approach to it, but also there's a freedom to be a bit expressive, to be a bit rough with it, to just not be too clinical all the time, but have a clean approach, if that makes sense. And I guess I kind of got that from Miles Davis, but a lot of people have different views on Miles Davis.
I actually don't know Miles Davis that much.
Miles Davis is basically one of the godfathers of jazz trumpet. And he famously had a tone that was very, very simple. He played a very pared back style of trumpet playing. But he was so good at playing sort of modal tunes and very dissonant sort of compositions. He played with people like Cannonball Adderley, Bill Evans, like he played with loads of people, but he was basically just like a halo figure for jazz trumpet. And some people think he's not that technically gifted. Maybe he's not, but he had a lot of soul and he was cool. Like his whole thing was cool. He had an album called The Birth of Cool, which was amazing. And I think that kind of contemporary jazz, those elements are really important for today's music, because whether people know it or not, it's still there. Whether they know who like Miles Davis is or not, he's still there. He's still having an influence on what people are producing today because of the lineage of how music travels and creative,
Wow. So what came first, the trumpet or the like songwriting, like just?
I would say the trumpet.
Or anything else, or if there's anything else that you can think of that did come first creatively.
I think it was just an appreciation for the structure of a song, but also like poetry and words. So like growing up in like a black household, you're always listening to like soul music, or if my sister or my brothers were listening to house, or they were listening to hip hop, you'd understand like the words are very important for what people are connecting to. So in early days, like in school, I was really into writing poetry. Really into writing poetry. I won an award at school for a poem called The Ballad of the Mary Rose, which is a ballad about a British a warship, basically. But I just loved writing poetry down. And then when I discovered that you can play an instrument and express something through that as well, I was like, okay, this is some good shit right here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that.
Because I feel like the trumpet can tell a story, or any instrument can tell a story. And it sounds different depending on my mood. However I pick up the trumpet is going to sound different.
Did you...
So, yeah.
You did poetry. You wrote poetry and you were playing music, and when you first started implementing both the things, did you know there and then that you wanted to do music? Like, have you always known you wanted to go into that music route, or like, was there a past kind of creative ambition, if you like?
Do you know what it was? I think as I got older, like I picked up the trumpet when I was like 7, 8, and I was kind of like, I was at that stage when you're young and you're kind of like, I really like this because it's cool and I like it and it speaks to me. As I got older, maybe getting towards, 9, 10, 11, that was also the time when, let's say, Outkast were releasing the Love Below Speakerbox album. I discovered Jurassic 5, and their lyricism and their storytelling was just incredible. And the way they constructed the beats and the sonics made me feel something. And the story stuck with me, or even like NERD and The Searching Of, or those sort of albums. And so at that point, I felt like I want to find a way to be able to do this for myself and help people to feel something or have a way of understanding their story or understanding their identity through sound or through creative endeavors. So whether that was acting, whether that was poetry, whether that was writing a song, I knew by that point, I was like, I want to be able to connect to people through this because there's a medium there. I now know.
At that young age, even in that young age.
Well, I know it was a medium. I know it's a medium now.
Yeah.
But there was something drawing me to it. I was like, I know there's something in me. Even when I was at like grade 2 trumpet, or when I was in my lower grades, I was ahead of my peers at that time, because of what I was listening to at home, because of what I felt. I remember like on Sundays, my mum used to listen to like Sarah Vaughan or Teddy Pendergrass, or listen to all this kind of soul music, and just understanding how someone could really connect with a song and really feel that emotion, and like it like encompassed the whole house, and the house felt it. The food as a result came out tasting that much sweeter, like everything. I was like, there's something in this music.
So interesting, because the only thing I was thinking of then is like you, the way it sounded like is like you felt like from a younger age, like the younger age, that you wanted to do something with this emotional state, the energy and the vibrations from the music that was coming out and the different things that you were doing, and you wanted to give that off to the world. Whereas what I felt when I was having my creative journey, it actually almost, like thinking back to it now, like it almost felt very much like for me, because I was trying to figure out myself, and it's only now that I'm like doing it, like, this past couple of years, that I'm doing it all to try and better like other people. Do you know what I mean? Because I always felt like I was trying to find myself. So I would do so whenever I felt a sense of joy, I'm like, okay, cool, there's something here, because there was a parallel to my life. There was
so interesting. That's so interesting.
Because there was always this parallel. I always felt like I was always like a very bubbly, uplifted, and positive individual, but then I also had a very negative side to me. So I would always search for this positivity because I hated this negativity. So whenever if I picked up something like a circus skill, like my Diablo or my staff, or then started like dancing, and I felt something. I felt like a joy. I was like, okay, well, how can I find that? And then I feel like now in the last, like since I started dancing and doing photography, and which is maybe about 8 years ago now, I feel like my journey has now been towards how can I now do this for, like, to help other people, whether it is like in my photography, giving people images to uplift themselves, or
it's so
or the community that I'm doing now, and like all this stuff. So it's almost like I found my joy then, and without even realizing, and then because I found that joy, I could then give that joy to others.
It's so interesting you say that, because I almost feel like we've almost done like the flip reverse, but in the same way it's kind of doing the same thing. Because when I was younger, right, and I almost, even at uni, I was still doing... Here's the reality, like being super like candid. I genuinely think there was a period of my life, probably up until maybe like my mid-20s, where I was battling the concept of positive ego. Because like, going back to what I was saying, is like, that reinforcement, you're really good at trumpet, you're really good at this, kind of got to uni and I was like, I should be doing this because it feels good to like get the gratification and for people to see that I'm really good. But there wasn't any substance for that like as I got older. And then the flip came when I was like, okay, I need to figure out what this actually means for me. So I was on the flip, and that was when I really tuned into what I wanted to do, rather than just going to venues and emceeing and dropping sick bars and getting the crowd hyped. Like, I could do that. I can do that at the drop of the hat. That's no problems. And that feeds my performance now. But what in turn helped my songwriting, which is the good part, was me just taking a step back and being like, let me figure this out for me now. What is this? What matters to me? What's inside here really that I need to express to the world? And so, when I'm writing songs about positivity and growth and being your best self, and finding your avatar state and showing respect for yourself and having people show respect for you, and being like, we're all good. Like, all the songs on the new album like kind of speak to a lot of those things. But I think it took a journey, because there were times where I go to like a house party, and this is in London. I'd go to a house party and people would put on like a beat, and they would say and expect me just to start freestyling there and then.
It's the whole thing of like, I'm not a dancing monkey, like, because that's all the thing with like as a dancer is the same thing. Give us a move then.
Yeah, I'm like,
do you, okay, well, what do you do? What, you're an accountant. Okay, go write us some fucking numbers then. Like,
literally. Yeah. So this was the thing in London. I was just like, I used to do this a lot and I'd enjoy it, but then I think there was a turning point where I was just like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not a troubadour. I'm not going around just doing this. Like, I am an artist. There's a craft here, and I'm learning about myself. And so that in my mid-20s was a real turning point, because I was like, okay, let's tap into what's inside Ed. And that is, all of it connects to like all of the auxiliary things around my life, like practicing meditation, being good with like your exercise, being really good with the friends that show up for you and taking time for them, and like all of that helped me to figure out who am I as a person, and how can I apply that to my art, rather than just being a creator, being an artist. I feel like
where do you think that switched?
Where?
When do you think that switched of like becoming more at one with all of that, and allowing all of that to drive your true music?
I think it switched really when, and I know so many people probably say this, but in the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic.
No. There's no way two ways about it. The pandemic for every single person affected someone in a different way, and it got people to another level.
It got, yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter whether everyone's, because that it is a reality of it.
The reality is
it did change.
The reality is that we weren't going to gigs. I wasn't going to gigs and expressing it that way. I wasn't able to go to house parties and MC for people and get that gratification, and that kind of like all of that got stripped back. But I still, like, from the age of 7 up until 27, I had 20 years of living and breathing music, surrounding myself with musicians, going to gigs, learning skills, learning tracks, recording, and all of that kind of stuff. So that 2-year period, my soul was like, you need to really tap into this shit. Tap into it and figure out what it was. And that was when I had my first alias, which was Forte. Because before I was Ed Addo, I had an alias, which was Forte. And that was like... And that album on my Ed Addo profile now, called Discovering Forte, is the best songs from that period. And there are some bangers on there. There are some bangers on there that I'm still yet to perform live. But that was the beginning of that songwriting journey, and it was sick. Like, don't get me wrong, that the mixing and the production is a bit whack.
Because you and let's touch on that production side then. So, how did it formulate into you being Ed Addo, singer-songwriter for yourself, and doing the production side of things and helping those other artists? When did that all fall into place? Because you've got a production company, right?
Production company, yeah. So Acre Green, which makes music for film, TV, adverts. That kind of began to get its legs early, well, in the late part of the pandemic period, because I was like, I want to release my music through Acre Green Records, and then I knew I had a passion for film. I knew I had a passion for visual, for like all that kind of stuff. So I was like incubating that idea back then. But the Forte idea, actually, I remember having a conversation with my friend Freddie at the Builders Arms in South Kent. And I was like, man, I want to start releasing music under an alias, but I don't want to be Ed Addo because I don't feel I'm ready to be fully myself yet. So this comes back to what we were saying before. So
I see.
So I was like, I want to release music under something that's not Ed Addo because I don't know if it's the full final iteration. And we went over these ideas. We came up with Freddie came up with Forte, and I was like, quite a sick idea. Stuck with that.
Yeah, no, it's just sorry. I just caught an idea. Like I just caught a thought. Like it was. It's very interesting now that you say that because like, I feel so attached to this name Candler Creative, and it's the first name thing whatever where I felt so attached to it because I feel like I'm now going on my true path and I'm now becoming my true self.
That's where I'm at with Ed Addo.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with Ed Addo.
Yeah. And I mean that only came out like last year, you know? And
it's like, the same thing, bro.
You make that transition and it's like, you know, there's just something there's like an energy that attaches to a certain idea or name and stuff. And it's like, you know, you are wanting to be you. So making that transition to having your true name, like it's such an attachment to that. There's such an energy to that because
it's such a thing. Like I can't even tell you. Like making music, when I stepped up to the mic when I was making music as Forte, it felt different. It felt different. It felt like I was doing. It was almost like the death. It was the death of the ego. That was the final bit of ego. I was like, I'm Forte, I'm a rapper, I make hip hop, and I can swear as much as I want in my tracks and all this kind of stuff. But actually, I don't like to swear that much in my tracks because I want it to be as accessible as possible, right? And I'm still a mama's boy. I want my mum to hear all my tracks. So like, I like Forte is like she's only heard a few of those, but like some of them I'm just like, okay. But that was the death of the ego, and then.
Of the ego.
Yeah, and then there was a hiatus, and then I actually spoke to another friend, Rory, and he was like, "You should just be Ed now. You should just be Ed. Ed Addo is such a sick name." And I was like, man, I don't know. And then I spoke to someone else, and they said, "Yeah, you've got such a great name, Ed Addo." And then Ed Addo came. First track I released was an instrumental because I like doing instrumentals when I was in Singapore with Georgina. And then I started making all these songs that were like musically intricate and more dynamic and more sensitive, but they still had the beat, like Playlist, Celebrate Life, all of these Playlist is Ed Addo, Celebrate Life is actually Forte, but that was like the tail end. And then all the songs like that I've now released, and they've all got the complexity that has been on that journey, and I've landed here. And it feels good. It's
the authenticity.
Yeah.
That's what that whole thing there just really makes prevalent what authenticity really truly is and what that can do for you as an individual. I think all of us it's too easy for all of us to create a persona and to create these different identities of ourselves to please certain
100%.
certain groups, a certain society or different cultures, or to please these different people, to please your parents, your friendship groups.
That's another thing.
All these different things, but until we lose that ego and lose that disingenuous energy, and we start to have that authentic self. Only true positivity can come from that.
It's so true.
And I say true positivity because, okay, yes, you may not be making loads of, and I don't say you personally, but we may not make loads of money because we're being our authentic self. 100%. And we may not do this, we may not get the success, we may not be in the places where we thought we should be.
Yeah, it's so true. Bro, honestly, so here's the other thing about this, is that this year, I actually decided to go full time with my music, and that's on the Acre Green sign.
Oh, fantastic.
Because it was always like on the side. So here's another factor of like my life, is that I've always had this feeling, and it's kind of been drilled into me from my parents, that well, not drilled in, but it was something that I felt like I should do, and I didn't have the confidence to go full with my music. So that I worked in like branding companies, I worked at social media strategy companies, and I was a great sales exec. I was doing all these kind of things, but I was not happy. I was not happy, and like I would find like when we all flipped to working from home, I would be working from home knowing that I've got that mic there, knowing I've got the interface, and it would just be on my mind. Every little break, I'm making a beat. Every little break, I'm writing lyrics down. And it got to the point where I was really starting to get the traction, like, in the sense, not like, you know, going like superstardom, but I was getting the traction in the sense that, like, people were like, oh, you should do more. I recently released a few tracks. This is sounding really good at the moment. And so March this year, I like decided I'm actually just going to stop working for another company. Wow. And I'm literally going to work for myself. And I was like, March, I can't remember what the date was. I think it was March 14th or March 23rd, I think it was the day I was like, it was my last day. And I was like, right, this is the day. Made the agreement with work. And they were like, okay. And then literally the next day at the same desk, I just switched the mindset and I was like, Acre Green, I'm going to start doing exactly what I was doing, like reaching out, prospecting people. And
that's just stopped.
Yeah, it has.
I mean, that's still going. That's probably stopped. Let's wait. Just pause. Cool. Okay, we're back. No, that's what I was saying. The one thing with CandlerCreativeChats, if everyone has been keeping up to date with the episodes, is you'll find that this happens a lot.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, most times I do this on Zoom, and I ain't paying for the fucking Zoom thing. I ain't got enough money for that shit.
So that's 45 minutes.
So it's 45 minutes, but usually we're like so in depth like this. So I'm like, okay, cool. So let's just cut that there. Yeah. But it's cool. Right, let's pick up where we left off. So you were talking about, you made the transition on March to go more full-time music, and about your work and stuff.
Yeah, but it was the journey of like the whole. Because you made an interesting point before of like how you spend so much time actually living in other people's ideas of what you should be doing, or getting external gratification for things. So whether you're trying to please your parents or you're trying to please others and all this kind of stuff. And for me, that was kind of a thing. Like the expectation was that, oh, I should be doing this, I should be working for this company or doing that because that is safe and secure. And then you do your music, and my mindset was that I'll do the music, and then if the music works, then, you know, I'll do that full time. But the reality is that it would never, like, it's probably like 1 in 5,000 chance that it's going to happen. But if you're doing it full time, it's like maybe more likely 1 in 50. You know, like there's more of a chance that it's going to go somewhere. As soon as I made that switch to being authentic, because I think that's what we were talking about, like authentic to what I believe and what I like and what I'm good at and what I've practiced for since I was 7, you know, presentation, communication, creative, you know, creation, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It's now going from strength to strength to strength to strength. Within 1 month of finishing, I got an agent. From 1 month from there, that agent was booking me so many shows. From another month from there, someone called me up. Hey, I'm starting a festival. I'd love you to put this festival together and perform. Boom, done that. Next year, looking at different festivals, you know, hopefully Cross the Tracks, Cloud X, Brick Lane Jazz Festival. It's mad, like, but that would have never have happened if I didn't spend the time.
Yeah. Do you have any do you have any like advice or a feeling or an emotion or just something that you think you can give to anyone who wants to make that transition but are in that kind of like phase, you know? Because you said about is it still going or is it?
No, it's
going to have stopped. Right, I have no idea. How am I going to edit this? Okay, cool. Yeah, so no, yeah. So
the advice for, I mean, what would I say? It's kind of, it's hard to like,
because when you came to it and you were making the decision, you know, like what was that spark did you do like a pros and cons thing? Did you
I mean, there was a point where like with work where it was like everything was not the universe in a way was kind of telling me that this was not working for me. So it was kind of like mentally I'd somewhat prepared for it. And it was, now I understand it, is that I just needed to listen to all of the signs that led up to that point. And I think the main thing is that within your body, within your vessel that is a body, you know exactly what your thoughts are that you don't tell everybody. You know exactly how you feel when you wake up and you step up to a computer and you don't want to do something. You know exactly how you feel when you're thinking about what you've got ahead of you in the week on a Sunday night. You know exactly what that feeling is. And the reality is that as humans, we know exactly what is good for us. We know not to eat something. We know what to drink. We know if we're thirsty. So it's also like, why don't we listen to our instincts on what we feel like we should be doing? And for me, it was kind of, I had to almost be like pushed into action, but I knew what my body was telling me. My body was telling me I need to do this. Like I was literally in my lunch breaks. I had two computers. I had my work computer, and then I had my own laptop where I was making beats. And I do my emails, I close a deal, whatever, and then I go back to making a beat. And that was the bit I was so excited for. Fuck, I gotta go put stuff into Salesforce, I gotta do this, I wanna do it quickly because I wanna make this track and I wanna send it to someone, I wanna send it to BBC Introducing. And then I started thinking like, if I was doing this all day, where would it lead me? The main thing is really like listening to yourself is so important. It's more important than people actually think. Like getting advice from people is great, but also you've got to trust your instinct and then listen to mentors.
Taking the advice, but like you said, like listen
interpret
to
it in your own body, right?
Like if you don't feel that advice, take little bits from it.
And also we have access to so many good conversations. Like this is a podcast that probably someone will watch and look at and they'll take something from it. But I used to also watch like Idea Generation. I used to watch Jay Shetty on purpose, and I can watch and listen to Big Sean talking about his journey. I can watch DJ Premier on his journey. I can listen to even like Kim Kardashian, how she's battled through all of the bullshit she's gone through to still be successful, still be a great, mom. You can, and take all those tidbits. So just really tune into like the communities, whether it's like away from here, like if it's the US, find a way to listen to that, take the information and internalize it, because you can really do whatever you want to do. There are no rules. There are no fucking rules.
There literally are no rules.
This is what I realized when I left. I was like, oh, okay, so I have to get up, I have to do this, I have to do blah 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 blah. But actually, I can literally just say I'm done with this. I can reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, hey, I want to make music for a brand. I want to make music for a film. You do it the right way. They say, yes. Okay, we'll pay for that. Fine. I can eat. I can pay my bills. That's sick. I can determine my own rules. And then in my time, I would say, oh, right, I want to write a beat. I want to write a song. I want to do this. I want to play a festival. We can make it happen. Fast forward this in 2 years, 3 years.
Love that.
That's, yeah. And I'm not going to use the word manifesting because everybody says it, but I just think doing.
No, but the thing though, like I'm a true manifester, and I'm a true believer of manifesting, because it's the same as you. It is real, because you ask for something internally that you didn't even think about. Like you just constantly say, oh my God, I need this, I need this, I need this. And if it's true to what your true desire and your like who you are is going towards, I truly believe that you get that.
Yeah, like I have.
If it's a wholehearted positive thing that you're trying to obtain, I really think you do get it. It's honestly happened to me. I've said this so many different times on the podcast. Like it's just happened to me so many different times, and when you notice it, like it's so powerful.
It's crazy. Like I've got one friend, who. He used to be a gardener, and he used to be a landscaper in Hampshire, and he was incredible. And he was working with like the landed gentry, like doing their gardenings and gardening for them. But he wasn't fulfilling. What he loves is art. He's an amazing artist. He loves the world. He loves to travel, and he wants to have like an impact. He moved to Brazil for 9 months. He basically lived in all these different communities and was just drawing all of Brazil. He went around South America, and now for life he like moved to Madeira. He moved to all these different places, and he creates amazing artwork for different charities around the world and sells the art prints for clothing and does that. And that is his life now. It's literally his life. And his vision was like, I want to live in the sunshine. That's all he said. I want to live in the sunshine, and I want to draw, and I want to do this. And he literally made it happen. One day he was just like, I've got to go. I've got enough money to keep me going for like this amount of time. What happens if I go and try and do this?
It's a real...
And here's a great quote, sorry to interrupt. One quote that I got from Russ, this book up here, It's All in Your Head. Great book. Everybody should read it. Everybody should read that book if you're ever in doubt. But he basically... Yeah. This book. That one. It's All in Your Head by Russ. It's a great book. And one of his things he always says is, what if it works out better than you could imagine? So on Jay Shetty's podcast, he asked him 2 questions towards the end. One of 5 questions. 2 of them is like, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? What if it works out better than you could have imagined? And the worst piece of advice he's ever received is be realistic.
The worst?
The worst piece of advice is be realistic.
What is real?
What, like, be realistic? Oh, be realistic. Like, if you leave...
What's realistic to you is different, may not be realistic to me.
Be delusional. Like, be wild with your dreams. Like, you think like the Neanderthals were like, do you know what?
I'm okay with a stick.
We've got a stick, and there's berries on the tree. I don't really think I want to go and chase down a boar and feed my whole family and village. I think we're okay. No, they were like, fuck that. Let's get a bigger stick. Let's sharpen that, give it to Ordamandum, and then go and get a boar and feed the people. Like, they weren't realistic. Or like, oh, we need to move things further afield, but we don't have any wheels.
Yeah. No, it's so true, man. I love that. Don't be realistic, guys. Let's not be realistic. Ed, this was such an interesting conversation.
No, I appreciate it.
It was honestly so sick. And what is just quickly, and what's next for you? What's coming out musically? What's your vibe?
So, Lessons from Home is already out. It's an 11-track album, mixtape, LP, whatever you want to call it. The next project is an instrumental, like, jazz hop album called Bali High. It's like 6-7 tracks that I wrote when I was in Bali, trumpet focused. Got a few collaborations, and then a load of singles which are going to be probably soul, hip hop, jazz focused. I do want to do some events. There's a live recording session that I want to do where I'm going to invite people, which I need to speak to you about, actually, because this is what I wanted to speak to you about. But basically, I want to create a live session where we record music live and have people there and film it and make it like a really sick thing.
Fantastic, yeah.
But yeah, it's just about churning out projects.
You're doing so much, man, and I feel your creative energy, and it's powerful. It really is powerful, and I can see the amazing things you're doing, and everyone needs to check out Ed on the socials. Where is best to find you though?
Probably on Instagram if you search Ed Addo, Ed __ Addo. Spotify, Apple Music, fan out on Tidal, because that's so. If you search all streaming platforms, you'll find it Ed Addo.
Look up his stuff, guys.
Yeah,
this guy is gonna soar, and you've got such amazing energy and such amazing vibes, and your music is incredible, and you've got such a lovely, powerful journey, and it's been really cool to talk with you, and I'd love to chat again where maybe the cameras don't fuck up.
Yeah, it's alright.
My guy.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Remember to do all that shit, follow, subscribe. So cool. Cheers, guys. Peace. Did the thing. That's gonna be fucking insane to edit.